Alright guys, so tonight we're in our packets and we're on page 7. I'm going to do two different problems two different ways. What we're doing right now is we are applying what we've been talking about in class with factoring, and we're applying that to geometric applications, so length, width, area, shapes, those kind of things. So here in the first one, it tells you the area of a rectangle, and you need to find the length and the width. So really what you do need to get it down to are two binomials. So we could factor this, right? We could factor this. Or instead of factoring it, we could guess and check. Like we could FOIL all of these answers, because that's really what you're doing. FOIL them and then see what works is the problem. But we're going to go ahead and factor this. So really remember what we need to do is we need to take the first number and multiply it by the last number. So 6 times a negative 12 is a negative 72. So we think about the factors of 72. We know the factors of 72, and I'm going to list them. We have 1 and 72, we have 2 and 36, 2 times 36. We have 3 times 24, we have 4 times 18, and 6 times 12. And then one that a lot of people know, which is 9 times 8. Okay? So then we ask ourselves, which of these factor pairs, okay, before we do this, we know this is a negative 72, so we need to make a note that one of our numbers in each factor pair is going to need to be negative, because multiplied together it needs to equal a negative. So kind of have that in your head. One of the numbers in whatever your pair is, it needs to be negative. So when added together it needs to equal a 1, which is that middle number here in the trinomial. So none of these numbers even come close to 1. And don't even come close to 1. I mean, 4 plus 8 or 18 minus 4 is our closest one, but it just is 4. So until we get over here to this one, 9 and 8. If we have a positive 9 and a negative 8 plus a negative 8, that's going to give me a positive 1. Well, that's what I'm looking for. So a positive 9 and a negative 8 are the factors, okay? So we want to say x plus 9 and x plus 8 are the answers, but we know that it needs to equal a 6x squared. And if we were to multiply these binomials together, like we were to FOIL them and check them, this would just be an x squared, okay? So what's going to happen is we are going to, we have to think about the factors of 6, and we haven't ever really had one like this, okay? The factors of 6 are 3 and 2 and 1 and 6. So we're going to go with 3 and 2. So what we're doing here is we are making this 3x and a 2x. So right here, right away, we know that a and b is eliminated. All right? So if it's 3x, that means that we're cutting everything in half. So 8 would now be a 4. It would be 2x plus 4. Whoops. I mean minus 4, sorry, because it was a negative 8. 2x minus 4 and 3x plus 3. If you FOIL this out, you would see that you would get that answer. So if you're lost with factoring and you get multiple choice, FOIL it. And when you FOIL it, if you end up with the original problem, the original trinomial, you know you've gotten it right. Let's move along to the next one. 16 and 25 are your numbers that you're multiplying together, and that gives you 400. Well, we just discussed the other day that 20 times 20 is 400. Now there's others. There's 40 and 10. There's 202. There's all these other factors, but what you're really trying to get is a negative 40. You want to equal a negative 40. So we have to think to ourselves, how can a factor of 400, factors of 400 added together equal a negative 40? Well, think about this. If we had a negative 20 times a negative 20, that would be a positive 400, and negative 20 plus negative 20 equals negative 40. So it's x minus 20 and x minus 20, right? Those are your original factors. But we have this 16x squared that we need it to make. So what we're doing here is we're having to take that x and increase it by 4. Multiply the x by 4. 4x and 4x makes a 16x squared. And then in turn, we're dividing this part by 4. That's how you do it. You multiply by 4 to get that to work, but then whatever you multiply by, you have to divide by here. So we get 4x minus 5. That becomes a 5. So your answer is D. All right? So in all of these, you are taking the trinomial, you're factoring it, and getting, that's how you get the dimensions. So let's do this last one. Let's do this one. And then we'll skip 4. We're going to multiply 5 times negative 8, and that gives you a negative 40. So what factors of negative 40 when added together would be a 39? Well, 40 and a negative 1. 40 times negative 1 is negative 40, but 40 plus negative 1 is 39. So it's 40 and a negative 1. Okay, so x plus 40 and x minus 1. Okay, that's not our end here because we have to equal 5x squared. 5x squared. So we have to multiply. We have to have one of these be a 5x, which we're going to make the first one a 5x. And however we multiply that by 5x, we have to divide the number it's the second number by. So it's going to end up being 5x plus 8 and then x minus 1. And those are the two measurements of the paper. Let's go down here to number 5. So it's the length of a square, so we're going to be doing difference of squares, because it's squares, perfect squares. And this is your answer. The side length is 3x minus 10. So what would be what we would need to do if this is the side length? We need to side squared is area, right? So we take 3x minus 10 and we square it, the whole thing. Because area of, it's wanting to know area. Area of a square is the side length squared. Well, if they said the side length is this, then it's this and then squared. So this exponent distributes to everything inside of the parentheses. So you have 3x, that's squared. 3 squared is 9, and then x squared. 3x squared is 9x squared. And then, or 3x to the second power, I should say. And then a negative 10 to the second power is a positive 100. So this is the area of the square. Okay, and that is all we're doing today. Tomorrow night we will have another video, or no, tomorrow, Thursday in class, we'll be putting it all together and factoring completely. All right, so that's it. Have a good evening.